A man was buried alive in a mudslide. He rolled down his car window and reached out to gauge how deep the mud was. Suddenly, a massive wave of wet sludge poured into the car. Terrified, he quickly shut the window. Before he could even process what was happening, the sunroof started to crack. Frantically, he grabbed some tape and tried to seal the splintering glass, but the flimsy tape couldn't withstand the pressure of the mud pressing down from above. As he was about to be buried alive, he spotted a steering wheel lock under the seat. He quickly grabbed it and wedged it across the sunroof opening. That temporarily held back the mud that kept caving in. The man let out a deep sigh of relief, but that moment of letting his guard down led him to make the dumbest mistake of his life. Without thinking, he snatched up a bottle of water and chugged it until it was nearly empty. Only then did he realize he'd just drained his lifeline. He was both regretful and panicked, but he was still thirsty, so he went ahead and finished off what was left. What made things even worse was that the oxygen in the sealed space was running out fast, and he was already struggling to breathe, so he grabbed a metal pipe and shoved it through a gap in the sunroof. If the pipe could reach the surface, it might solve his air problem, but mud came gushing out of the pipe, crushing his hopes. He quickly found some newspaper to plug the pipe, then poked a hole in a bottle cap, tied a knot in some rope, and threaded it through the cap. Maybe that would stop the mud from spraying out. When he reinserted the pipe into the gap, the mud finally stopped gushing out. He pushed the pipe upward with all his might. After nearly inserting 2 full pipes, he realized he still hadn't reached the surface. It dawned on him just how deep he was buried. As it took more and more strength, by the 3rd pipe he couldn't push anymore. The man let out a desperate scream. Suddenly, he found a hydraulic jack, but it quickly maxed out too. So he had to pat his shoulder with his sweater, grit his teeth through the pain, and keep pushing the pipe upward. Finally, the pipe broke through to the surface. He grabbed some wire, then punctured the bottle cap at the top of the pipe. This time, he'd actually done it. When he looked up through the pipe, he finally saw warm sunlight again. He greedily gulped down a few breaths of fresh air, then started screaming for help. But after shouting for a long time with no response, he had a flash of inspiration. He quickly lit a newspaper on fire and held the burning paper up to the pipe opening while yelling for help. He figured the smoke and flames coming out of the pipe would attract someone's attention, but he overlooked the fact that lighting a fire in an enclosed space was a fatal mistake. By the time he realized it and tried to call for help, it was already too late. Thick smoke filled the car. In a panic, the man pressed his shirt tightly over his nose and mouth, then passed out in despair. Here's a question about wilderness survival skills. Do you know why you should never light a fire in an enclosed space? Follow me to watch the next thrilling segment of this movie.